So,
right?
I'm Andrew. I think I've talked to everybody on the phone, but Nintendeal and Amiibo Alert. So that's me. Okay, I don't know what order everybody's video's going in. Brandon, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah,
Actually, I'm sorry. We'll just do this like when you're in like high school or whatever. You're like, all right, here we go. I'm Andrew. I'm 26 years old. I live in Tacoma,
That's
Washington.
AA.
Yeah,
That's
dude, we're
not
doing
high
AA.
school.
We're
That's
all
AA.
telling our addictions.
Hi, Andrew.
Yeah.
I'm 26. I live about 50 miles south of Seattle, in Tacoma, Washington. I work at the University of Puget Sound. My full-time job is network and VoIP administrator there. So I manage like the Wi-Fi and the phones, and I make sure that the students can surf Netflix and Pornhub. So that's
Nice.
That's my
thoughtful of you.
Brandon.
My name is Brandon. I'm 24, since we're doing ages as well, apparently. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I am a choir teacher just west of the Twin Cities. So I teach peeps how to sing.
That beautiful voice.
Thank you. Oh, shucks.
Brian?
My name is Brian Barnett. I am turning 34 on Friday.
Wow.
And
Happy early
Happy
birthday,
early
Brian.
You don't look 34.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it on all counts. I live in Houston, Texas. I survived Hurricane Harvey. And right now I am a contract musician. I play drums. I also host a podcast.
What's it called?
It's called The Platformers.
How can people get to it? How can
You can on anywhere that podcasts are sold or given away for free. You can find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, that's
Great.
That's basically what I'm doing right now.
Cool. Sarah?
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
I have a microphone, but I don't really trust myself to set it up by myself.
Nice.
I'm not good with stuff like that. Okay, so I'm Sarah, and I just graduated in April with my master's in English.
Nice.
And while I was getting that, I was working as an editor and a teacher. I taught freshman writing. And now I work at Farmers Insurance. Anyone heard of Farmers Insurance?
We are farmers. Bum,
Yeah.
ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
That's the one, yeah. So I just,
Musicians jump in.
The girl that rear-ended me on last Tuesday, actually has farmers insurance.
oh, did you
Isn't
talk
that oh wait,
So
hold on.
I'm
This
working
isn't
with
blue.
on the phone? Because that's what I am when you have to
Yes.
make a name, you talk to. Yeah. I
yeah,
took my
actually,
first few
I
calls
had to
today.
call in. Oh, it's exciting! Congratulations.
But, yeah.
Awesome. Christopher.
Yeah, Chris.
Christoph.
Okay,
Yeah.
Christopher.
Stop.
Yeah, so I'm 32 years old and I'm a content strategist. So I work for startups here in the Bay Area. So Silicon Valley, like my life is literally an episode of that show. So hopefully I like to view myself as not being the punchline there, but I definitely work with those people. So yeah, I've worked with big, small companies, helping them figure out what they're doing with their website, their blog. I'm a Nintendo collector on the side, and I have a little son I'm exposing to all this Nintendo stuff, and that's where I find out about Amiibo alerts and Nintendeal. And then he says he was looking for editors. I'm like, I kind of do this 24/7 anyway, so what the hey? And that's how I got connected, which leads into Philip.
Yeah, that's
One of the 9 brothers?
9 kids,
9
6
kids.
boys.
Yeah, 6 boys. Yeah, so I'm Philip, and I'm 26, and I also live in California in the Silicon Valley, not too far from Chris. And I do mostly video editing. I do contract video editing. I worked for an esports organization not too long ago called Tempo Storm, and I've also worked for some startup companies in the Bay Area, helping them, do marketing strategies and things like that, but using videos as my tool of choice.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you all being here. I think it's awesome that it used to be. I mean, it was Brandon and I doing Amiibo alerts, and then it's cool that we've built this team. And and I could not do it without you guys. And I really, really appreciate all the work that you do and all the content we create, and I'm excited for the future because I think that we're going places. So that's my yeah, we're cool speech.
Yeah, we made it, Mom. We did it.
So, other than that, I think we're ready to get going. Sarah, just a review of what we talked about before you jumped in. Chris shared a link in Slack to open up the Google Docs, where as we talk, he's gonna be putting those down. So it's just something to keep your eye on, because we're gonna argue. We're going to argue whether or not that list is accurate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely keeping that open so that I can just destroy your
everybody's picks.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so I'll let Chris take over now.
Yeah, so before we jump into the actual start of the show, we'll just go over format one more time now that we're all here. So I'm going to take the picture that Philip sent around, and we'll just go in that order, I guess clockwise, starting with Sarah. So we'll go Sarah, Brandon, Philip, Andrew, Brian, myself, and then keep going around like that. So starting top left and working our way around that way. So the first rounds we're just trying to fill out the top 10. It doesn't really we're not arguing whether or not something belongs there or not. So Sarah, we'll start with you. You're just going to name a game that you believe deserves to be on this top 10, and you'll by default be in the 1 position. Then it'll go to Brandon. Brandon, you're going to nominate a game, and you either can put it in the 2 position or say, actually, no, this deserves the 1 position. I'm going to bump Sarah's down to 2. So we'll go around until we fill that out, and as things get bumped out of the top 10, we'll move them to the runner-up column. After this has been completed, then we're going to go around and say, hang on, guys, there's some egregious errors. We got all the way through here, and I can't believe, this Mario game didn't make the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we're going to go through and kind of say, okay, guys, hang on. I want to bring a game into the top 10 and take a game out of the top 10. And that will be more around consensus. If I'm trying to put Shaq Fu into the top 10, you all can block me. And if the majority of the group says, no, this is not a top 10 SNES game of all time,
so it's just
I lose
majority?
my turn.
So if 3 people, since we have so we have 6, if 3 people say no, then that's it.
Well, I think for the SNES catalog is so amazing that if 3 people believe something's not in the top 10, I think it's pretty good chances that there's going to be a lot.
It's not supposed to be there.
That's my assumption. We'll see how this goes.
I tend to agree,
bloody, but I'm fine with it.
So, and I think at the end of the day, it's we're trying to operate by consensus here. So it's not about being right and getting getting this list to look as much like our own list. It's about having something at the end of the day that we all feel proud of, saying, yeah, I could see this being
as a team,
a top 10 list that I'm okay with. The majority, the really good titles are all on there, and we'll have a couple shout outs to some runner-ups that were special to us. But again, I think when we nominate something, attaching it to some personal nostalgia or personal story will make it that much more interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's the last time I'm going to agree with you for this evening.
Did you see every time we mention arguing and disagreeing, Sarah's eyes get all big. She's like,
she's like, oh no,
I'm not about this.
Yeah. What you guys don't know is that Philip and I are trained debaters. I was a debate coach for such a long time too.
Sounds very interesting. You two.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just not good friends, is what that means.
Yeah, that's basically what it means. We make lots of enemies rather quickly.
I feel like some people are big conflict people, and other people in this group are big conflict avoiders.
Are we going to decide who's that in the list after we're done with these?
Sure,
games
yeah.
Or?
That'll be a separate.
That'll
be a separate list.
It'll be its own separate video.
Turning Skype off, just okay, I'm not doing this anymore.
So the one thing I will just say on that, I think the point of this is to have fun, not to be right. Doing the right thing is making an entertaining content piece for our audience, not about making sure that your game's in the exact position that you want it to be in.
Anyway, Sarah, go ahead and kick us off.
Okay, so I have to explain that I've actually never played on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
Excellent.
Okay. So this is kind of boring backstory of my life, but I didn't grow up playing video games. because my parents were in the military and we were really poor. But also, I was in a family of 3 sisters, and video games just aren't marketed towards girls. So I played like Neopets.
Nice.
I played that for a long time. But then in 2004, I actually got a PS2, my first gaming system ever. So I had like dollar store games that I played on the PS2 for a long time. And then when I met Nick, who's my partner, he's sleeping right now, I'm sorry, but he introduced me to Nintendo. And so I started playing all these games, but I haven't played on that system. But I did play A Link to the Past, but I played it on the Game Boy Advance. So it's kind of a SNES game. We watched the
That counts.
21, I think it was the 21 games, a minute from each game from Game Explain to kind of look at all the games. So I have kind of an idea of what they're kind of like. And I did play Super Mario World on the Maker, just on Mario Maker, but I haven't played the game itself. So that's like kind of my contribution that I can make here. So I can just watch you guys. I'm sorry that that didn't come out sooner, but
Not to worry. I think
there you go. But if Nick was here, I mean, he's got input.
For sure.
He's gonna wake up like mid conversation and crawl over and like, no,
said what?
that one is not.
Yeah, somebody will say something that Nick totally doesn't agree with, and then he'll just
maybe
ram into the screen and.
Probably not. He talked
Shaq Fu and Shaq 2? What?
Your perspective will be interesting, though, I think, to the audience.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of these games, some of us may not all have experience with it, and I think that's part of the fun about Nintendo is Nintendo has always had something for everybody, and they've done so for generations and generations. So even though you've played a lot of these games just on different platforms and different systems, which is so great about why they've made Super Nintendo games so accessible. So we can just kind of jump through and just start with you with a couple of games that you did mention. I think those are great candidates for the list. So for the number 1 position, Sarah, what are you putting up there?
I guess I'll do A Link to the Past, maybe.
Good call. That's a
Not
good
bad
one.
choice.
It was so hard.
Was it?
Tell-
Did you beat it
Share
on
us
the
a memory
Game
with
Boy?
that. Yeah.
Well, I remember handing it to Nick a lot of the times and being like, you can't beat this one. And then when I tell him that, he's like, no, you beat it yourself. But I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that you were a big part. But that was like 5 years ago. So I do want to go back and try again because back then I was pretty bad at stuff like that. And now I am a better gamer. I'm still not like at his level, but I do want to go back. And I'm excited to have this SNES and play these games.
Yeah.
Friday's going to be a perfect opportunity for you to jump back in and.
Yeah.
Are you getting a classic, Sarah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Great. So number 1, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. That's what we're at right now.
Sweet.
That's where we're at. Let's move on over to you, Brandon. What are you going to dethrone A Link to the Past, or are you going to add a number 2?
No, I'm definitely not going to dethrone A Link to the Past because that's right up there with some of the best. I will, however, put a game up here that's super nostalgic. Growing up, we had a little arcade about 6 blocks away from my house, and I have an older brother, and we would always go to the arcade and play Turtles in Time. And then when we got Turtles in Time for the Super at our home, we would never leave our rooms. So I just love Turtles in Time. It's such a classic beat 'em up game, multiplayer. You really can't go wrong with that, especially in the arcade with four dudes around the cabinet. So yeah, I will gladly put Turtles in Time up on the list as a number 2 for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shell Shock. That was on my list. That was on my list as well. That I remember wasting so many quarters on that game, and I say wasting because I wasn't very good at it. I just always wanted Raphael because he had cool little weapons and was angry.
He's the worst, though. Raphael's the worst.
I know. Everyone would always say that, and they just see me with my little bag of coins, just burning them on this arcade game. All right, so
great choice.
We got Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past in 1. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time number 2. All right, we got to move on over to Philip. Philip, are you going to dethrone 1 or 2, or are you going to put something in the 3 spot?
I will dethrone
No,
number 2.
No.
Dethroning Turtles in Time.
Moving Turtles in Time down to 3.
So what I'm going to dethrone it with, and I have a fun story to go with this. The game is Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars.
Wow.
And
that's on the SNES Classic, so if you have not played that, get excited.
I enjoyed the game a lot, but when I was younger, there were so many of us that we didn't always get to play, right? The older brothers were always playing, and I would generally watch. And it was always fun watching that. And I remember one time my oldest brother, his name is Tim, and he was playing the game, and he was fighting the final boss, right? So this is a big moment, but then we had to go have lunch or something. Yeah. So we had to go have lunch. So we all went upstairs to have lunch, and then I ate really fast and snuck down and beat the boss.
Oh, no.
And then when he came down, he was so frustrated with me. He was like, how could you do this? I got this far, and you took all the glory. I was like, yeah, go me.
At least you beat the boss and didn't just die and go back to save. But that would have been awful.
I sold all your weapons.
Yeah, great. It's not a number 1.
I wouldn't say it's a number 1, but it's I think a good game, and I just have fond memories of it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I will say, for people who've never done a JRPG, this is Square Enix and Nintendo went together on this, and for me, it was one of the first JRPGs that made it much more accessible because it was with IP that I already knew. But it was really interesting because you have all the Princess and Mario and Bowser in it. But then you have these really cool characters that are never seen again, like Mallow and Gino. Yeah. And every single time there's a Smash game, people are screaming, "Bring these guys in! Bring these guys in!"
Gino.
Yeah, everyone wants Gino. Yeah. Play the game. You don't want Mallow and Smash. You want Gino and Smash.
No.
It's also like the first game, I think, in terms of Mario, where you're actually teaming up with Bowser. So that was kind of different as well.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, no.
So Chris, you mentioned...
I've legit never played this game. So
you've never played an RPG, really?
So that is a spoiler for me, Philip. Thank you very much.
It happens like at the beginning. All right.
No, it's fine. I don't care at all.
Calm down.
And for those listening in, you may get a sense of this throughout the night, but Philip and I are brothers, and there's 9 siblings in total. So when he was talking about all the kids and not having a turn to play, that's why, because Philip's number 5, and the Super Nintendo was only 2 players, so you had to wait for at least 4 of us to be sick.
Or die.
Yeah, or die off. So
food poisoning was a common choice of mine.
Just a side note, as far as accessibility goes, Chris, you were talking about it made it more accessible because it was an IP you understood. I felt that way about Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
I was just about to say that.
And I think it's great. I mean, I had used XCOM, or I had played XCOM, and I'd played turn-based games like that a lot. But I think for people that had never played something like that, I think that Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle was like a great way to introduce people to that kind of gameplay. So side note, but I think if it's great. Using Nintendo IPs, which people are super comfortable with, I think Ubisoft did a great job on that, and I hope they do more of that.
One thing that was interesting about that is that Ubisoft didn't really, they're not the people behind XCOM. That's 2K, right?
Yeah.
So I think the interesting thing about Mario RPG was that it was Square Enix that did it. And those are the people behind all the Final Fantasy games and behind Chrono Trigger and other things like that. So it was, and it wasn't just a reskin of those games. It's this really cool 3D look to it. But it has those core JRPG concepts in it. But it was just, that was the first game that really grabbed me of that genre. All right. So with that said, let's keep moving around. Andrew, to you now.
To me.
We got Link to the Past in 1. We got Mario RPG in 2. We got Turtles in Time in 3. Are you dethroning or adding a number 4?
Oof, I can't. I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of rage. We're gonna get some down votes for this, but
oh boy,
I'm dethroning 1. And I'm pushing everybody down. Oh. I can't believe this one hasn't been brought up. Like, I get the people like have nostalgia for these other weird games. No,
way to knock nostalgia. Come on, what's wrong with
all these games
I understand that you guys have terrible tastes, so it makes sense you haven't mentioned this one yet.
Super Mario World. It's got to be number 1. Is there a better Super Mario? I don't think there is.
I pick that one.
I think
I don't know.
I think you're going to divide the group here, but if you say Super Mario World plus All Stars, which was a cartridge that came out that had all the original Mario game, I won't argue with you in the number 1 spot because you got so much bang for your buck there. Yeah. Well, so I'll put that up there. So you get 1, 2, 3. battle mode and world.
I'll amend that. I'll amend that. I'll allow it. So that's my number one. I just remember the noise you make when you jump off, like the little. That was just
jump off Yoshi with your cape.
Yeah.
Can you do that again, Andrew? Well, yeah, how did it go again?
That was actually a really, really great impression. That was awesome.
Yeah. When I got my first cell phone, my freshman year of high school, it was a little it was like Virgin Mobile or something. It was one of those really crappy flip phones. Like I was going down to Mexico to build houses, and my grandma was like, "You have to have a phone when you go down there in case something happens." I mean, it didn't work in Mexico, so I don't know why she got it for me. But
thanks, Grandma.
I remember getting that noise as my text ringtone, and it was like I was the coolest person ever. Like I'd be walking through the halls, and I'd like text myself or whatever, and it would like, and I thought it was so cool, but that was just.
Cost me $1.50 to do that, but that sounds
I know, that was like one of 36 text messages you could send.
Wasn't Super Mario World also the first game where Yoshi was like introduced into the game?
First one where he's a playable character.
Yeah,
there was a Yoshi game on the NES.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Yoshi's Cookie on the NES, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was like a playable character in. Yeah.
I think that's mine. That's my addition to number one.
That's awesome. And you know what? It would have taken something very special to dethrone Legend of Zelda, but I think you had a good one. So, refresher here. Super Mario World plus All-Stars in the 1, Link to the Past 2, Super Mario RPG 3, Turtles in Time 4. So far, all 4 of these are in my top 10 list. So I'm happy with where things are going right now. Now let's take a crazy turn and go to Brian. What do you have for us?
Well, I mean, you guys preempted this. Shaq Fu's got to go on this one.
Shaq Fu.
I'm just kidding.
Kick him from the call.
I am, however, going to dethrone number 1.
What? You're pushing everything down?
I'm pushing everything down.
I think I know what it is.
And you know what it's got to be.
I do.
It's Super Metroid. Super Metroid, the greatest game ever made. It is literally better than Super Mario World and All Stars.
I just disagree.
It's perfection. There's never been a better side-scrolling platformer adventure game. Like, call it what you will. Like, atmospheric exploration game. It is immaculate. It's never been beaten. People say Symphony of the Night is better. They are wrong. Because have you heard any of the voice acting in that game? Like, come on. Get over it. It's all right. Super Metroid teaches. It was the first game that really drew me into a fully fleshed out world without telling me anything. Unlike, Metroid Fusion that would come later, and Metroid Other M, where they were just heavy in dialogue, or even Metroid Prime, where there was a lot of scanning and reading and stuff. They didn't tell you anything in Super Metroid. They drop you into this world. And other than, the initial description of what happened in the previous games, you're just alone. You're just alone in this alien planet. And it's your job to find this, tiny Metroid. And, I don't know, kill it, bring it back to the, place where all the scientists died. I don't know what the heck she was supposed to do with it. But
it was amazing. It didn't matter. You were alone.
But it doesn't matter because you're exploring this crazy world. You're fighting these insane bosses and stuff. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, yes, and I think you're going to be just as alone as choosing that number 1. I don't think anyone else. I'm ready to arm wrestle people.
Yeah,
we'll get to that when we fill out the top 10.
All right, I'm getting ahead.
I think it's a top 10.
I'm emotional.
I don't see it as a number 1, but I definitely see it as a top 10. All right.
I'm more putting it in number 1 to make a statement.
That you love Metroid.
I'm not under any illusions that it's going to stay at number 1, but I think it belongs there.
We'll drop it down to make a statement back.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, I'm waiting on those to come in.
I've never seen them opened before. Nick keeps them in the box. Well, it is squishy. I'll have to show it.
That's so cool.
All right. So I think it's actually over to me now, and man, I'm looking at my list here, and there's so many that I want to get on here, but I'll do one that I think I deserve that deserves it. Like, Nintendo's always been a platforming company. Like, that's what Mario was for such a long time. I remember when Donkey Kong Country got announced. Donkey Kong games up until that time hadn't been platformers, and it was like, okay, why? You already have Mario. Why are you building this other platformer? I mean, isn't it going to be super repetitive? And it wasn't. And I also remember the graphics of it were really unique to
It was amazing.
to Super Nintendo. So I remember this is back when they were mailing VHS tapes for these different games, and we got like this 15-minute preview documentary of Donkey Kong Country. And I remember me and all my siblings would sit around the table or the TV and just watch this over and over and over again. And the music was so unique and so different, and the platforming was so unique and so different that we were like frothing at the mouth waiting for this game to come out. And another little side note is that we weren't allowed to play video games that much. We had to read books to earn time to do this. So like we had to read like an entire book to earn an hour, and so like most of my brothers were pretty.
That's brutal.
This is a double-edged sword.
All right, son, you have to read the Odyssey to get 30 minutes with your favorite Mario game.
This is how dumb I was during all that time too, because a bunch of my brothers, like every book had a value assigned to it. All those American Girl books were an hour, and they're pretty easy read. So all my brothers are like blazing through American Girl books. So they can play video games, and I'm like, I'm gonna choose The Hobbit. It took me like 6 months to earn that hour. Anyway, but so tying it back to Donkey Kong Country, we all got the chicken pox on the release week, and we all the time restraints were lifted. So we were playing this 24/7. Just playing through Donkey and Diddy, and when one kid's eyes were so swollen because of the fever, the chicken pox, and all that stuff, we'd hand it to the next pair of kids. It was great. So I think that was the most we all played as in terms of video games, and it was such a great game. It still is. I definitely think it belongs here. I'm just putting it in the 6th spot. We'll argue space. It belongs on here. I'd probably put it in the top 5, but right now, for sake of time, we'll put it in the 6.
I agree with Donkey Kong Country, and I fought with this one internally when I was making my list. I was going, do I choose Donkey Kong Country just because I played it more and it's more nostalgic for me, or do I choose Donkey Kong Country 2 because it's just a better game?
Yeah,
and I really struggle with that. I ended up with 2, but I mean, we'll fill the list and we'll come back. But I did end up with 2, and I internal struggle.
Both great games.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through the next round.
And I will say about Donkey Kong Country, the music is so good and so catchy. The lockjaw theme from the first level where you drop down, I still get stuck in my head like every couple of weeks. It'll come back. Yeah.
It's why you're a drummer, Brian.
And honestly, being a drummer, it's really fun to play. So like a lot of times when I'll be at gigs, I'll warm up with that song.
That's cool.
And it's fun.
You'll never look at balloons the same.
Nope.
All right, Sarah, do you have an addition to this list, or do you want to pass?
I'm gonna add Earthbound to the list.
Old.
I haven't played Earthbound myself, but Nick played through it. It took him a really long time, and the music was dope.
Music is dope in Earthbound.
Because I was just like doing homework while he was playing, and it was good music. Mm-hmm.
This is perfect.
Also in the SNES Classic, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so you're putting that in the 7th spot, Sarah?
Can I put it in number 1?
Well, if we're gonna put Metroid up there,
yes, you can.
Right.
Did you see Brian's face?
All right, excuse me. If we're gonna put Metroid up there, come on. That game's a masterpiece. Earthbound, Donkey Kong Country. I gotta play that.
You know what?
I'm half of Nick right now, but I think Nick would probably want to boost Zelda up to the top spot. But I don't know for sure. It might be Super Mario World that he would say. I think
we'll go ahead and put. I think all these games deserve to be on here, so we're in a good spot there. We'll get rank after we fill this out a little bit more. I will say that you saying Earthbound, I think for any viewers, any like hardcore Nintendo viewers right now, I think you're immediately to the top of their favorite list. Like they love you because like Earthbound is like
Earthbound has a crazy cult following.
People are all about it. So I think you're up there.
It's a great. I'll play
it. You need Mother 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I was part of the translation team.
Oh boy, that's funny.
That's us though. We're making fun of ourselves. That's us in the audience.
No, okay. I love it.
All right, Brandon, to you. We got the top 7 here, and just for those listening in, if you can't see the screen, shout right now. It's Earthbound 1, Super Metroid 2, Super Mario All Stars, or Super Mario World plus All Stars 3, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past 4, RPG from Super Mario 5, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time. Your last nomination, Donkey Kong Country, which is mine, rounding it out at 7. So, Brandon, to you.
Yeah. I'm surprised this one hasn't made the list yet. I think it's probably going to fall right at number 8, hopefully. I'm going to put Mega Man X on this list.
Yes.
This is another one of those games that my brother and I would play a ton. And I remember, so we had a Super Nintendo growing up, and then one of my cousins borrowed it. Like, this is the classic, hey, I'm going to borrow your system and then pawn off all your games. So a lot of my college and adult life has been trying to find these games and get them back. And I was in a little dinky pawn shop in a small town in Minnesota, and I saw a immaculate Mega Man X cart, and I just had to have it. So I got that one back and brought it home, and my brother and I kept playing that. And it's a relatively short game, and once you get to the final couple stages, it ramps up in difficulty, but just one of those games you could just sit and power through and just have a ton of fun with. So I'm gonna put Mega Man X right at number 8.
How much is a cart like that nowadays in good condition?
$200.
X, I don't think X is $100
X isn't that bad.
yet.
It's not that bad.
I think X is maybe 40.
Okay, so you didn't have to like wake up in an ice bath after donating a kidney or anything. Okay.
No, and this was a couple years ago, and back then it was maybe $25.
Gotcha.
And if you are smart about where you shop and try to do some of the local stuff, you can even get them down to $20 and
yeah.
So
All right.
eBay price is probably $40 if I
Fun
were
fact,
just
Mega Man X also on my top 10 list, so well done. And
Thank
I used to teach drum and guitar lessons to students, and one of the songs I would teach my intermediate level guitar students is Storm Eagle Stage.
I love that stage. That music,
yes,
so good.
it's a
All the
lot of
musicians
fun.
in the audience are like liking this, retweeting this, loving you too.
Nerds.
All right, so guys,
It's true.
it's about to get tense here because we have 2 more that we got to name out, and then we have some serious debating because I'm looking at my list and there's more than 2 games on my list listing from this. So
It's the same for me.
All right, so Philip, start rounding us out. What are you dethroning something and
let's
inserting
see.
something, or adding something at number 9?
Let's see.
Oh, look at that! Look at that smirk.
In at number 1.
Yeah, it's hard.
There's one that I think that has to be on the list, but I'm positive someone else is gonna say it, so I'm gonna say a different one. Like,
I think we're all having that thought. I think we're all thinking
I've
the
got
same
that
game.
thought like 4 times over.
there's this one game that hasn't been mentioned yet, so I'm gonna name
Just
a different one.
mention it. This
I
is
think
not about-
Super
this is
Mario
about
Kart
news.
at
Sure.
I don't know, maybe what are we at? I would put it at like
9.
I would put it at I'll probably put it at 9. I'll put it there.
Really?
Somewhere around there on the lower end of the spectrum of the top 10, but it was a great game, but also it just started a genre essentially. And Mario Kart is still very popular to this day, but that's where it began, and it was a lot of fun then, and you ruin relationships and friendships with that game, and we continue to do that now with the newer versions. So
It's true.
Yeah. It's a good game.
It is a great game, and surprisingly, it was like one of the better battle modes too, which Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U just did a horrible job. But anyway,
we don't speak of that. We don't speak of that.
No, but it was such a robust game too, because it had battle mode, it had the Grand Prix, it had time trials, it had all this stuff, and it had all these kart classifications. And this was like the first time that a kart game came out. You had heavies and lights and all this stuff that those same principles have applied to every kart racer, both on Nintendo and on other platforms ever since. So
this was in 1992, which is, it's
it's
so Nintendo.
That's unheard of.
It's
Being
nuts.
jumping something this crazy onto it. It was 1992.
That game's older than I am.
And the crazy thing about this game, like pretty much all of the games I think that we're going to have ending up on this list, it holds up. This game is still super fun even
I'd
now.
still play it.
And on the SNES Classic. So
I was
Yeah,
just gonna ask, because that one I'm not 100% memorized on the lineup. I wasn't sure if that was on there or not.
you didn't do
Yeah,
you didn't do your homework, Brandon?
It is.
You had one
No.
assignment, Brandon.
No.
You're ashamed of yourself.
But
Recite them alphabetically.
so quick question. With my group of
Earthbound,
friends,
Earthbound.
it was always a race to see who could get Toad first. But and
In battle mode, yeah.
and in my wife's family, it was always a race to see who could get Yoshi first. Who was the prime pick for you guys?
Yoshi.
Yeah, Toad and Yoshi
For-
were always really popular.
Yeah, for us it was 64, and it was Yoshi. It was the race to get Yoshi for us.
I think for us, for Phil and myself, it was just the race to get a controller.
Yeah. I just ended up watching.
I'll play with DK if I have to. I just want to play.
I'll do whatever it takes. Just put
Yeah,
it
no
in
one
my
wanted-
hands.
No one wanted to play DK, and you'll see this if you get the SNES Classic. It kind of just looks like a giant turd in the cart. Like
Yeah.
the animation of it was just kind of weird. It's like a brown blob. So
And isn't it technically like Donkey Kong Jr. on Super Mario Kart?
the Donkey Kong lore.
Oh, I think isn't that his name on there?
Yeah, I think it's Donkey Kong Jr.
Now that
on
you're
Super
saying that, I think I kind
Nintendo.
of remember
They're
that.
just a
Because
big
I think it's-
turd.
Yeah, it's a big turd with like a
Turd
diaper,
Junior.
I think.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
This is where there is legit like weird Donkey Kong lore because Cranky Kong was like the original Donkey Kong, and
Yeah.
Donkey Kong
Yeah.
from Donkey Kong Country is Donkey Kong Jr.
We could have a whole video on DK.
Just
lore.
the deep lore of the apes in the Nintendo house.
Yeah, we should have some fun like Mario
should
or
do that.
Nintendo lore. I'm still adamant that King Boo is Princess Peach's father because he's the only king in Mario. There's nothing backing this up besides
Sarah's
Mario
like,
trying to just
what?
tie it all together.
That's some fantastic headcanon there.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Let's
convinced
build it
me.
out.
Let's
I'm a
make it happen.
convert. Let's do this.
All right. So, speaking of convincing you, I know Andrew's got a big task to convince you of the number 10 game that's getting on this list before we start debating the merits of what needs to get knocked off this list and getting the order right. So,
Yeah.
Andrew, where are we at?
So this is a tease, but it's a trick tease.
ooh,
This I think might end up on the list at some point. I think people might argue for that, but I'm gonna throw a wrench in it, and I'm doing Jungle Strike. Jungle Strike was my jam. That was my jam. I want it not at 10. I want it at 6.
whoa.
I wanted it at 6. Jungle Strike.
I'm
Just
gonna be
the
real with you.
sound
I've never heard of this game.
of the
I'm thinking the
helicopter.
same thing.
And the sound of the helicopter gets my heart beating. It was intense. It was intense. It was no more intense game on the Super Nintendo.
This was like their helicopter equivalent of Raiden, right? Instead of the is an aerial fighter where you're flying.
Yeah, you're like top down though. It's
Yeah.
not one that's side scrolling like a lot of them were. It's
Like
top
Gradius
down and
or
there's
things like that.
buildings and you can like shoot missiles and guns. It's not on the Super Nintendo Classic, but it should be for me.
Did
Yeah.
you
So
also
I-
an arcade game?
I don't
There
know.
was an arcade game where I used to live in Southern California. There was a place called B&J Subs, and they had this arcade cabinet. And I've been trying to figure out what the hell this game was for years, and nobody can help me. There's a red jet that comes up out of the trees, and a blue jet that takes
That's
off
Raiden.
vertically.
That's
Is
That's
Raiden.
it?
Raiden.
Yeah.
That's
Raiden.
Raiden.
It's very similar.
And you
It
get
is
like
very
freaking
similar.
lightning beams and like giant blue lasers
Yep.
and stuff.
It's very
Yeah,
similar.
Raiden-
You should check
Raiden
out
is-
Jungle Strike.
Raiden is way better than Jungle Strike, and Raiden doesn't even deserve to be on this list. So for everyone listening, when you hear Andrew with that much passion and that much silence surrounding his passion, that's called being on an island.
Did anyone else notice that when he was like Jungle Strike? All of us have these blank stares. We're all like, "What is he talking about?"
What is Jungle Strike?
Yeah,
It's all right. It's all right. I have it up there though.
I would put Super Paperboy above Jungle Strike, and I hate Super Paperboy.
I would put Lethal Enforcers above Jungle Strike.
Hey, I told you, I'm throwing a wrench into the machine. I'm just doing it. All right, so
All right, so looking at the list here we have a full list. Obviously, we have a little bit more work to do.
We do.
we definitely.
I'm
do.
looking at this, and we have at least 9 good titles. And then we have Jungle Strike. But I think there's a lot of other good titles that are missing.
am I going to get vetoed? I'm getting vetoed on Jungle Strike.
No, so we're going to go around. So So for those
I believe it's
listening-
my turn.
Yeah, for those listening, and here's how this shifts. We're going to review where this is, and now we're trying to get the order right, and we're trying to get those missing games on here. And this is where we go to consensus. So nothing can get added or removed without getting a majority of the people here on the call to kind of say, you know what, you're right. Because we want to have the best or the closest official top 10 that we can for Nintendeal. So where we stand right now is number 1, Earthbound. Number 2, Super Metroid. 3, Super Mario World plus All-Stars. 4 is Zelda Link to the Past. 5 is Super Mario RPG. 6... Jungle Strike. 7.
Sarah's so nice. She's like, no, guys.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time. Donkey Kong Country is at 8. Mega Man X is at 9. Super Mario Kart is at 10. Brian, help us out. Let's fix this list here. What's missing and what needs to get reordered here?
Okay, I am very sorry. I have a lot of respect for Andrew and his decisions.
You're fired. You're fired.
Sorry. There is a glaring omission from this list, and any hardcore RPG fan will know that if you don't have Final Fantasy III on this list,
No.
Okay.
No, I was with you until you said Final Fantasy.
I thought we were on the same
Chrono
page.
Trigger.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
I was waiting for.
Jungle Strike's got to leave. Final Fantasy III's got to go up there.
I will. Okay, so I agree that Final Fantasy III deserves the top 10 more so than Jungle Strike.
Yeah.
Can we let's just agree on that?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that.
Brandon,
I thought that I legit
Yes,
thought
get
that
it
was
out
gonna
of
be a
here.
lump.
Out. Get it out of there.
No, I agree about Final Fantasy being on there over Jungle Strike. That I agree with.
Fun
That's
fact.
nothing against.
Yes.
Here, I'm gonna put Jungle Strike in the runner-up position.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
this is so out there that it deserves to be mentioned.
Honorable mention.
Now,
Fun
I'm not
fact,
going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you to pirate anything. But if you buy the cartridge, you can download an emulator and you can get the ROM for Jungle Strike. Just make sure you buy the cart first so that you can legally get the emulator and play Jungle Strike.
Get some Twitter love. Ask people if they believe Jungle Strike deserves a top 10 on SES. SNES.
Yeah, see how many.
Be real. Ask them if it deserves a top 25. I'd be surprised.
No,
Do they
ask-
make
ask
25
top
games for the Super Nintendo?
In case anybody's wondering, you can buy a pre-owned Jungle Strike for $6.95 with free shipping on eBay right now.
Oh,
Nice.
In fact, I might buy it right now.
Do it.
And then Andrew, I'll get back to you.
I gotta say a couple of things. First, we kind of skipped over this with Chris telling me that the game that I've been searching for literally 20 years was Raiden. So that's a legit dream come true that I actually found out what the heck this game was. I used to play this all the time and I never knew what it was. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I need to
Red,
give freaking
blue,
props
or
to that.
purple, man. Get purple. Get the purple power-ups. That's the one you want.
And second of all, also fun fact, I had never played Final Fantasy III until this year.
Right.
I've played I played every other Final Fantasy except for 13 and 3. And I think I haven't played 2. Actual 3 and 2 in the proper order. So Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo is actually Final Fantasy 6. Final Fantasy 2 is actually Final Fantasy 4. Which is the way that they're ordered now. But I never played that game until this year, and it is maybe my favorite Final Fantasy game ever. So that's I feel very strongly about that. I know a lot of people, it's up there on their best RPGs of all time. So that's why I wanted to put that up there.
Okay. All right, I think to me now, and I know Final Fantasy's made some great RPGs, all Square Enix shops. Square Enix also made another RPG outside of this franchise that I think deserves to be on this list. Just in terms of storytelling, it stands on its own. It's an incredible game, but I don't think we want to fill this top 10 list with RPGs. But I do. Here's what I want to do. I think Chrono Trigger deserves the top 10, actually more so than Final Fantasy III. This is something that it was so good. It's been ported to so many different platforms as well. So you can get on PlayStation, you can get on your iPhone and Android as well. It's that great of a game. So if you are picking up this SNES Classic, it's absent I think Final Fantasy 3 is on there.
It is.
So you can get
I should
that
tell
there,
you
but-
something.
But if you
No.
they had to arm wrestle Square Enix to get anything on there, man. So it's really hard for them to get Chrono Trigger out there. So I'm gonna nominate putting Chrono Trigger in the 5 spot, moving Super Mario RPG to 6, and moving Final Fantasy 3 to the runner-up list. I think it needs to be mentioned, but I don't. We could have a lot of JRPGs on here, and I don't think that they're. The two best ones, I believe, are RPG and Mario RPG and Chrono Trigger. What's the thought from everybody on this one?
So wait, hold on. To make sure really quick, which one did you knock out from the top 10?
I want to move. I want to replace. I want to put Chrono Trigger in 5, move RPG down to 6, and then move Final Fantasy 3 to runner up.
So it's not. So you're not inserting it there and then bumping Kart off the end.
Right.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
okay.
Kart belongs. Kart.
So you're swapping it out.
And the only reason why I'm doing that is I'm trying to swap that out because I feel weird about having 3 JRPGs on this top 10 list. And because I don't think when anyone looks at a Super Nintendo, they view it as a JRPG platform. You know, it's
Really?
I think that if any of the PlayStations, that's just their bread and butter for
I think comparing it to a PlayStation, yeah, I would agree with you. I think people see more of the Sony consoles as the JRPG kings.
I completely disagree. The Super Nintendo era is when Square Enix could do no wrong. Like I have 1, 2, 3. I have like 4 RPGs on this list, and I think they're some of the best ever. Granted, I'm not gonna fight you on this. I just think that like.
Well, you know what? So here's the. I think Final Fantasy 3 deserves to be on there. I think I would create more waves if I bump Mega Man X off, because I think that's a great game, but I don't think it's a top 10 Super Nintendo game. I think it's a great game. But I'm trying to.
It literally has a 10 in its name.
I'm trying to choose the right thing for this, and I honestly feel that we have way too many JRPGs if we have more than 2.
I think replacing.
Does it matter like
Final
what type
Fantasy
of
3.
game it is? If it's on the best of list, like, does that matter? I don't know.
Well, I think there's so many different genres of games that Super Nintendo had, and many aren't even represented here that are on my top 10. So this one is like, I would feel that there would be a crime that had been committed if Chrono Trigger wasn't even on the top 10.
Sure.
Like, let's find a home for it then. Like, well, let's open up the discussion. Where's the home for Chrono Trigger? Do we agree that Chrono Trigger is a top 10?
Yeah.
It's on my top 10, to be clear.
It's mine too.
Yeah, it
Okay.
definitely belongs.
So I think what do we got to bump out?
This is what I'm thinking. I think that so I'm imagining Final Fantasy 3, Mega Man X, and Chrono Trigger being in front of me, and I'm choosing Chrono Trigger over both of those. And I know they're different genres, but I'm choosing Chrono Trigger over both of those. So I think either Final Fantasy 3 or Mega Man X needs to go. I think that if you're going to replace something with something else, I think Chrono Trigger replacing Final Fantasy 3 is, I think it's equal.
Quick question. I have played Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 3. I have not played Super Mario RPG. Is Super Mario RPG a better RPG than 3 and Chrono Trigger?
I put it right below Chrono Trigger in terms of.
I would too.
Yeah, it's like.
But they're almost too like different, even though they're both RPGs.
And they're both Square Enix games.
They're just.
Both
so.
Are they all 3
so
Square
good.
Enix games?
Yeah.
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 It's 3 Square Enix
will
RPGs.
I'll say Square Enix captured the whimsical nature of Mario games like so fantastically.
So perfectly
Mario.
in that.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, because you're playing with Mario in a way that you've never played with him before, and it feels so natural. And it's just like, holy crap, this is amazing. Like his weapons are like different types of hammers and stuff like that, and it's great.
And the world.
Oh crap! I just realized Earthbound is also an RPG.
Yeah, we got a heavy amount of them.
I don't think we could. I think we got to boot Final Fantasy 3.
All right, are we cool with
or what about Turtles of Time?
Absolutely not. I will die.
You guys are targeting my games. Why are you targeting my suggestions?
I will die on a hill for Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
I think.
Thank you.
I probably put more quarters in on that game than any other game in my life.
Final Fantasy 3. That's 3. Okay. I think that's 3. I think we're
listeners out there, viewers out there, I tried.
I
fought for you.
I would have kept it in the top 10, honestly, but
Well, and real quick, while Chris is reordering our list so we can get an updated list, I've got 3 replies for yes or no. Does Jungle Strike Super Nintendo belong on top 10 Super Nintendo list? We've got Tomas at TJOBE80. He says, I didn't even know Desert had a sequel because it's the sequel to Desert Strike.
That's what it says in the name. It says Jungle Strike on the cart, the sequel to Desert Strike. I'm looking at it right now. I'm so tempted to press the buy it now button.
Buy it now.
I can't.
So I'm gonna buzz through these just real quick. So Animaniac is super _DFM. He says never played it or heard of that game when I was playing Super Nintendo as a kid, so I'd have to say no. Turbo Havoc, who is at JDWood06, says it was a good game, but top 10 on SNES? No way. And then the last one, and my favorite one, Tanner Nanner, which is at the Tanner Nanner, says hell no with a period. And I feel like when you put a period at the end of a tweet, like you're like, no.
I will use a
like,
precious
not
character to tell you that.
Yeah.
like
I
end of
always
story.
punctuate my tweets.
I like
What's
these
that?
people. I like these people.
I always punctuate my tweets. I feel
Same
like
here.
I don't have.
Yeah, they didn't need all 140 characters to tell you that you were wrong.
Dude,
That you were wrong.
No.
No!
Dude.
Exclaim!
Dude, Tanner Nanner for MVP, dude.
Yeah,
Thank
nanner,
you.
nanner.
Thank you.
All
brother.
right. So let's
All right.
move back around. Back to Sarah. Sarah, is there anything with the order that we have here that seems out of place to you? A game that you would assume would make a top 10 that's not on there? Do I need to go through the list again, or do you have it up in front of you?
I've got it pulled up. I'm a little curious about Kirby's Dreamland 2 or Kirby's Dreamland. Did any of you like that one? I haven't played it.
Kirby was great, but my real experience with Kirby was on the Game Boy. That was where I started.
Yeah,
with
Kirby's
So-
Dreamland.
So I can't say that I ever played on the Super Nintendo, and I feel like the Kirby fans are gonna like suck me up and
Oh.
turn into like an overweight 20-year-old guy that, and then just I don't know.
Hey, Andrew.
Where are you
I
going
wanna-
with this?
I don't know.
Andrew, I'm your future.
All the Kirby
okay?
fans are going to suck up the 20-year-old guy.
Why would they want to suck you up?
Because they hate me. I'm an enemy because I say I don't think Kirby just belongs on the list. That's where I was going with it. I don't think
That makes sense now. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to argue about it. I just wanted to bring it up because
that's a
pretty
good
sure.
one.
Sure, yeah.
I nearly put it on my list because there was like you guys had been saying, Kirby was originally for the Game Boy, and then they actually started coming out with games for the Super Nintendo. I want to say they had Dreamland 3. I'm trying to look through it up right now. They had, which one was the one that was like 8 games in one?
Kirby Superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one seemed like a great value. That was one that I remembered getting at one point and had a lot of
And
fun
that
with
game, I remember that game too. There were like, I know Meta Knight was huge in that game as one of the primary enemies. There were like 2 or 3 different campaign modes and just a bunch of mini games.
Yeah.
And they were like timing based mini games. So something quick would flash on the screen, then you'd have to mash a button to like attack your opponent or whatever. I don't remember all of them. Or you had to like split the planet in half, I think was one of them
runner-up.
too. Yep.
I say
Yep.
runner up for that because I think it belongs in a mention.
Kirby
Sure.
Superstar.
And I've got one that I think I don't know. We'll see.
All right,
I think I do too.
All right, Brandon. Let's
Okay, I want to talk about 2 things here real quick. Are we all okay with Donkey Kong Country, or do we want to change Donkey Kong Country to Donkey Kong Country 2?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do next time my turn came around.
Oh, then I'll let you do that.
No, do it.
No,
I got other stuff.
No, you already did it. It's too late.
I already did it. Dang it. Well, I mean, are we okay with that? I
Well,
Yes.
think Donkey Kong
they're
Country
both
kind of
games.
started that whole country trend with the sweet graphics, sweet music, different type of platforming. But if Country 2 is the better game, is that what
Yeah.
we're going for? Or
I agree.
as long as we don't put Donkey Kong Country 64 on here, I won't try with it. That
We're good.
I just think that if you're looking at Donkey Kong Country versus 2, Diddy makes it for me, right? Diddy was
Diddy's
in 2.
Conquest.
So
Yep, Diddy's Conquest.
So I think because Diddy, Okay, so we're changing it to 2. I think we all,
I'm a Donkey
most of us
fan.
agree.
Yeah, I mean, I have more nostalgia with the first one, the minecart racer and all that
Me
stuff.
too.
I think
do too.
the second one, yes, it was better, but I don't think it was as memorable for me because I didn't have the chicken pox and playing it for days on end. So, but,
So
not a hell of a
you're
time.
making your choice based off of the absence of illness. It's a weird choice in a top
Dude,
10 list.
I will say chickenpox was one of the best weeks of my life because I just played this nonstop. If I was awake, I was playing Donkey Kong Country.
It's worth mentioning that Donkey Kong Country is on the Super Nintendo Classic.
Yes, it is. I was surprised that they didn't put the others of the trilogy on there. So.
I agree, but they had they had to limit them. I think that if you're going to go back and play one of these, I think Donkey Kong Country 2 is it, and that's why I think it should be 2.
Fair enough.
should be.
So
Okay.
we have that on there. All right, Philip, what's wrong about this list?
Let's
That
see.
needs some
I'm looking at
fixing.
my list here. What do we have right now at? Wait, can we swap?
Yeah, you can
positions, I
swap
think?
order.
Okay, we can swap
Yeah.
positions as well.
He's gonna dethrone Earthbound. I can
So
feel it in
let's-
his bones.
Let's try to do this. Before we rearrange things, let's try to get any other game that you think deserves to be on here debated
Okay,
really
sure.
quick. And once we figure out that we're happy with the top 10, then we'll work on order.
I
Just
agree.
for sake of time, I think we could
Okay,
spend a
so
little more time than we want on this.
one
Otherwise,
that I think then should just be on the list, or at least be an honorable mention, would be Star Fox. I think that was a good game and it was a lot of fun.
Get your little plush there, Andrew. There.
My mom made this for me. I want you all to know that.
It looks like something a mom would make.
Isn't it cute? It's got the tail and everything.
It looks like something way better than my mom would make.
and with
Got, like,
the
his pants.
Oh,
No offense, Mom. I love you.
Oh, she should sell those on Etsy.
She will, and I'll be plugging it in a later video.
Okay.
so
Hey.
well, let's tie that into the SNES Classic because Star Fox is absolutely on there. They
Star
made a
Fox
sequel.
2.
Yeah, they made a sequel
Yeah.
to it, which was
Yeah.
never released before. So
Yeah.
SNES Classic is the first
Yeah.
place where you can go through and get that. So
So next
Just-
year we'll probably be back making another top 10 list, and we'll be swapping out Donkey Kong Country 1 for 2 and Star Fox 1 for 2.
there you go. So gut reaction to people is: does Star Fox deserve a top 10 spot? Yes or no? Do we have to fit it on there, or is it an honorable mention?
I don't think so.
I think
I
think it deserves a spot over Mega Man X.
I tend to agree with that.
I would.
I
Oh.
don't at all.
Just like a stab to the heart.
I'm
and-
sorry.
Oh.
I just think that if I feel like Star Fox is more of a classic than Mega Man X.
Yeah.
Really?
I do. I really do.
I think. Well, and I think to defend the game I chose, I think X holds up better.
Yes.
Like going and playing Mega Man X now, it still
it's just
looks
as good.
okay, and Star Fox just kind of looks like you want to just break your
Some
TV.
polygons put together.
You could just do a barrel roll right into Canada. Just right into Canada. Get out of the U.S.
Get out of here.
I tend to agree with that. I think Star Fox was a great IP that Nintendo had. I think it was one of the first games that used the FX chip and was
Yep.
able to do more things on the Super Nintendo than a lot of other games were able to do from a technical perspective. And with a D-pad, you were able to actually do a flight simulator that actually worked quite well. Imagine, like, you can't do that now. You need the analog sticks. You need dual analog sticks. Very few consoles are even able to do this, and I think Star
And they
Fox...
still don't feel right.
No, they still don't. But we're about to play Star Fox again here, this weekend when the SNES Classic comes in, and it felt so right, and it was so much fun, and it had some pretty fun characters. Like, who did not enjoy destroying Slippy? So
Light them
And
up.
Brandon,
dude.
Brandon, I respect you as an individual, as an editor, as a friend. I'm not trying to pick on your choices. I just think
You're lying.
Here's,
You hate me, Andrew.
You're right. I hate
Brandon,
you.
I got your back, bro.
Thank you.
all right,
Here's
we got
here.
What's really strong about it? Oh, he just left. Is you take Mega Man X off there, and I'm not talking about order right now, and you put Star Fox on there, and that list of 10 I think is perfect. That's what I'm saying.
Can we at least put Star Fox at 10 and Super Mario
Star
Kart at
Fox
9?
would be low. What?
Yeah,
like, it would be 9
I
or
agree.
10. It would be low.
I agree.
on the
Star
list.
Fox 10, Super Mario Kart 9.
all right.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good
I'll just
thing
cry
here.
I'll just cry myself to sleep tonight. That's fine.
So I'm looking at my list here and the list that we have, and there's not too much off. There's a couple off, but I mean, like, I feel pretty good with where we're at. Are there other games that people feel just need to be mentioned, even if not a top 10 that need to be in a runner-up? All right, so let's
do one each.
All right, so well, let's go around until we have no more comments. Are you good with this list, Andrew, or do you have one more that you got to name off?
Well, I mean, maybe I'll just start with the honorable mentions or runners up. I think that Super Street Fighter Turbo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really good.
That's a good one.
Really, really good. But I will say that I played more Street Fighter on the Genesis, so I think it deserves a runner-up. I think it was great for the console. I think it was better than Mortal Kombat, which I think I might get some people fight me on finishing moves. But I think that it deserves to be at least mentioned in this conversation. Not on the list, though.
Sounds good. Yeah, it was one that was on the bubble for me that I didn't end up putting on there.
There's just too many good, and that's the problem with the Super Nintendo library. There's just too many good games.
There's a lot of good games.
All right, Brian.
What do you want?
To you, what deserves an honorable mention, or what injustice is on this list that needs to be resolved?
Okay, so let me talk through this real quick. Does anybody else have more than one? I've got 2 games on my personal top 10 that are not on here, and I think based off of everybody's reaction to Final Fantasy III, one of the other ones is definitely not going to get on here.
Is it Final Fantasy 2?
Yeah, it is.
I think it's worth mentioning. I think it's worth mentioning.
It is definitely worth mentioning. I also have another game that is like in my top 5.
Wow.
And definitely probably my favorite puzzle game of all time. But that is Tetris Attack. Did anybody in here play that?
I did not.
I did not play that.
It is absolutely incredible. I played probably hundreds of hours of this game. It was the game that brought my whole family together. My parents were never big on games, but like when I brought my Super Nintendo to my grandparents' house and we went up there, I could get my aunts and uncles, I could get my mom and dad, I could get my sister in there playing Tetris Attack versus me, and like it was awesome. It's still to this day the game that I don't understand why it doesn't end up on things like the SNES Classic or even on the Virtual Console. It is an essential puzzle game, and I don't understand why people aren't just wholesale ripping it off. Like they did Planet Puzzle League for a while, they did Pokemon Puzzle League, but those were a long time ago, and it's a great formula. It works really, really well. I would love to see it on the top 10. I don't know that I could argue it. I don't know that I could argue off like Super Mario RPG or Turtles in Time or Earthbound or Star Fox for that. I would love to, because I think we don't have any puzzle games up on here, and I think it's just the best. But at the very least, needs to be on the runner-up list if I can't convince something else off of there.
I think if you look really closely in the reflection in Brandon's glasses, I think you can see him on eBay buying. Oh yeah,
I was looking up Tetris Attack.
He's buying all the carts on eBay that we're mentioning right now.
I may have a video game purchasing addiction, and this top 10 list is really bad for my wallet.
Yeah.
So,
Jungle Strike.
I still have it pulled up. I just haven't quite clicked the buy it now button.
Yeah, Twitter told him not to. So I think they're your conscience for you. All right, so like I think I'll jump one that I want to put as a runner up. It's in my personal.
We never decided on Tetris.
I don't.
Runner up.
It's a runner up for sure. Yeah. We didn't have enough support for that to dethrone anything.
Because am I the only person that played it, or Andrew, did you play it?
I think I remember playing it, but I mean, if I don't remember. No.
Okay, so that's just one of those that I played and nobody else did. Okay.
Special to your heart. We've all got those, like Jungle Strike.
For sure.
that's the
sequel to Desert Strike.
But no one even knows what Jungle Strike is. Nobody.
Tetris Attack will now be known as Brian's Jungle Strike.
The sequel to Brian's Desert Strike.
Yes.
There you
go. Perfect.
The sequel to Brian's Desert Strike.
So, do we want?
Perfect.
Okay, so
we'll work on the order.
And mentioning...
We'll work on order here in just 1 second. I just want to do one more shout out to one game that I don't think is on anybody else's top 10, but it was definitely special for me, and it's a cart that I've been eyeballing myself. Is Earthworm Jim 2?
Yes.
Hey, yeah.
Earthworm Jim, like a great platformer, hilarious humor in it. The weapons were just ridiculous, like the barn blaster. You're fighting old women. The music is insane. You're trying to save puppies. Yeah, you're trying to save puppies with marshmallows. And I will say, if you play Earthworm Jim and you play Earthworm Jim 2, hands down, that is one of the games that shows that the sequel is far superior than the original, probably even more so than Donkey Kong 2. I think the delta between Donkey Kong 2 and 1 is, obviously is better, but not that much better. Earthworm Jim 2 is just head and shoulders above Earthworm Jim 1, in my opinion. I think they just nailed the humor, the story, the gameplay. You're using your own head as a whip. I mean, it's so freaking good.
The sound effects are amazing.
The sound effects are amazing. You idle and you start jumping rope with your face. I mean, it's just like...
It's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous, but it felt so right. It was a great game. So anyway, that I don't think deserves a top 10, but it definitely deserves a shout out.
Yeah, I had that on a shout out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
All right, so let's get this order right.
Hey, I have one more game real fast.
Yeah. Let's get
How
in
do we
there.
feel about F-Zero? Was that on anybody else's list, or am I just my own?
I never
mention
had
of
it as an
I never
honorable
played it.
mention, but not in the top
Sure.
10.
No, yeah, I was thinking more of an honorable mention too. That was the only game left from my top 10 that wasn't either an honorable mention or on the list.
I will say that it introduced us to a very iconic hero, Captain Falcon, but to me, he's of Smash Brothers fame, not of F-Zero fame. Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, I played that a little bit, but I think for me, like after a while, if I wanted to race, I just want to do Mario Kart because why not race with red turtle shells? Because that was much more fun in my opinion there.
Well, this is heresy to ask this question, but does F-Zero have weapons?
No.
Okay.
It's just the only weapons were ramming into your opponents, or the sides of the tracks were like laser ball things that would take away your shield. And
laser
then
balls.
Like it was covered in laser ball things. I don't know, whatever. Shocking.
His
orbs.
weapons were literally the streets.
And then you have to go through the regeneration strips and all that crazy stuff. So
interesting.
Yeah,
good
a lot
times.
of in the F-Zero tracks on Mario Kart 8, they're very much the format that you would expect from that. So, and they've done some F-Zero inspired games on both the Wii U and the Switch.
Fast Racing Neo and yeah, and then on PlayStation they have Wipeout.
Yep. So very, very similar games there. So guys, I'm looking at the top 10. Are we all pretty good that these are the top 10? We just got to get the order right.
Let's read through it real quick.
Can I just name one more game that the viewers are probably like, why didn't they mention this game at all? Is Secret Mana.
Secret of Mana?
Secret Mana?
Yeah, Secret of Mana. Sorry, Secret of Mana.
Sorry guys, I didn't announce my my mana when I came into the country. I do have Secret Mana.
You do.
Oh wow.
Anyway, so I think at least in the honorable mention, because people are probably wondering why we haven't even.
I agree.
And that is on the SNES Classic, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
My buddy Randy will be very pleased that that game was mentioned.
Shout out.
See, I knew it.
Woo, Randy.
All right, so let's go through the list here. We got Earthbound, Super Metroid, Super Mario World plus All Stars, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time, Donkey Kong Country 2, Super Mario Kart, and Star Fox. It's obviously not aligned with my list in terms of games, but pretty darn close.
This is really close to my list as well.
I think it's a really good
Same.
list. I don't think anyone can argue with these games. So I think what we got to do now is get the order right.
So I want to just say as number 10, I think Star Fox is a perfect number 10.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
I'm gonna be real. I think the bottom half of the list is totally fine. I think the things that are in the top 5 are things that
I don't know about Super Mario RPG being in the bottom half.
See, I'm torn on that one too.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with
and
it.
I can't speak to that. I didn't play it.
But at the same time, I don't know what I would move out of the top 5 down to 6. Because there's, I mean,
stays at 6. Maybe that's
Super
okay.
Metroid.
Yeah.
Hey,
honestly,
all right. Come and
Or
take
you
it.
want to
Come and take
Honestly, I would
No.
say Super Mario RPG is better than Super Metroid, in my opinion.
So let's try to lock in, maybe go bottom up here.
Yeah.
And because I think nothing's coming off this list, right? So I think it's a matter of getting this right. And I think, for instance, I put Turtles in Time in the same category as Street Fighter because that was an arcade classic. That's where most of us experienced it. You could get it on the Super Nintendo. I'm cool with moving that to the 9 spot.
I agree.
Is that cool with you, Brandon?
Yeah.
Locking it in a 9.
I think you switch. I think you switch 9 and 7. I think you switch Turtles in Time and Super Mario Kart. Because I think Super Mario Kart.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Would you say Super Mario Kart is better though than Donkey Kong Country 2?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that too. See, I think
I don't know if
DKC2. I think DKC2 is better than Super Mario Kart. I would like to see TMNT go to 9. That's fine, and then move Super Mario Kart to 8, Donkey Kong Country 2 to 7. That's what I.
Are we going for better standalone, or are we going for more important / like influential?
I'm thinking
Mario Kart
important games. Mario Kart is like and like Chris was talking about with weights and like different characters and like all the different. I just think that it's a bigger deal than DKC2.
Yeah, let's put it this way: you're hanging out with your friends. Do you say, "Hey, you want to come over and play Mario Kart tonight?" Or do you say, "Hey, do you want to come over and play
Donkey Kong Country
3"? Huh? Come on.
Come on, I get to play as the baby.
No. Like Mario Kart was great for the casual player, for the hardcore player. It was like a fun party game too.
I would only invite that friend to come play Mario Kart if I don't want to be their friend anymore. Like if I want to end that relationship, that's what we play.
If we're using
Phil over here.
If we're using I'm going to invite my friend over to play this game with me logic, I would keep TMNT higher then.
That's true.
We already locked it.
I know we already locked it in at 9.
But he's just saying that argument.
That's good.
I'm just using that argument. You know, I don't know.
But I think you can argue that Super Mario Kart, like, it had a bigger impact as a game, but which was a better game for the SNES?
I think Super Mario Kart belongs at 6. It's not top 5, but I think that it's one of the most influential, biggest games of all time ever.
Are we talking about which is a better game or which is more influential? Because if it's about which is more influential, then it would be in the top 5.
Or does influence make it a good? Like, what makes a good game?
I would say which one's more fun. And I had more fun playing Mario Kart than Donkey Kong Country 2, even though I had a great time playing Donkey Kong Country 2.
I agree. I'll second that.
So I think I agree with that too. But instead of trying to lock things in, moving up there, let's do this. It seems like we have some conflict here, and I think as we start rearranging some of these other,
we might find a spot.
Yeah, we might find a spot here. So, and I'll be totally candid. I don't feel right about Earthbound being in the 1 at the same time.
Me neither.
At the same time, because I felt like it.
I feel
Sarah, you're my favorite person. Earthbound's the greatest game of all time for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Is it, Brandon?
No, it's really not.
Okay. So
it wasn't even on my top 10 list. Earthbound.
Really?
Yeah, me neither.
It would be like 11 or something. It was like an honorable mention.
I respect it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I respect the game. And it's a great game, but it just wasn't a top 10.
I'm just one of those.
Number 1 spot. That's okay. I don't think it's the number 1. I just felt like putting it there.
I will say though that game, like it didn't sell too well in North America, so it wasn't as exposed because I didn't play it back then when it first came out. But I will say those that had played it are like some of the most devout followers.
Yeah,
that would be me. Like,
so that's why it deserves to be on the top 10. We just got to find a better home for it. So let's do this. Let's start working from the top down. And I think let's find the right thing for the number 1. But I think there's the 3 underneath it, 2 through 4. I think it's going to come from here. I think when you think of the Super Nintendo, you think of Super Mario World, you think of Link to the Past, and I think you think of Metroid. Those are the 3 Nintendo IP games that define that system more than any others. I think the 1, 2, and 3 spot probably come from those. Disagree?
Agree.
I would maybe expand that to also include Chrono Trigger, but I wouldn't argue against what you're saying.
Yeah, I think the top 4 are what we currently have as 2 to 5.
I think if we had to choose top 3, which I think we're trying to do right now, I think Super Mario World is 1. I think Link to the Past is 2, and I think Super Metroid's 3. That's what I think is a respectable top 3.
have no qualms with that whatsoever.
I think the biggest argument I think people might have is Super Mario World over Link to the Past. I think Super Metroid fits comfortably in 3, and I think Chrono Trigger fits comfortably in 4. But I think the top 1 and 2 are going to be argued. I think those are often on lists. Sure. You see them 1 and 2. I think.
But I think when you just on that, I think for the vast majority of people who played Super Nintendo, from a casual experience, Super Mario World offered so much to so many people. I mean, you just have a big stupid smile on your face when you got Yoshi for the first time in the first level. That where like Legend of Zelda, for more of a hardcore gamer or someone who was actually committed to it and wanted to play a game over long periods of time, that one definitely spoke to those people. I think people that committed to a game had a better journey with Link to the Past and was more memorable for them. Like even for me, I can't remember too much outside of the first 2 or 3 worlds from Super Mario World, but I played those first few worlds so many times and introduced them to so many different people.
And it's funny because I think that, like you were saying, Super Mario World, a lot of casual, like you could just pick it up and play it. Link to the Past, you had to dedicate more time. You're like drawing maps on paper and stuff. But I think Super Metroid, I think, is somewhere in between that. Which I think is good for 3. I think Super Metroid, you could pick it up and play it. You could also like really get into it. Yeah,
I replayed it like a couple of weeks ago, and I beat it in like an hour and 45 minutes. Like it's a game that you can, Super Metroid, you can just sit down and beat it, or you can go through in 100% and take a long time. Yeah. One thing I will say is that up until Breath of the Wild came out, Link to the Past was my favorite Zelda game. And to this day, Super Mario World is still my favorite Super Mario game.
Wait till you play RPG. That's all I'm going to say.
So do we want to?
RPG is unbelievable.
So do we want to agree to lock in 1 through 3 at least?
I think that's a safe bet, and I also think too one piece that we kind of have left out, even though it's on the list, is the fact that Super Mario World is bundled with the All Stars in there. It's just kind of a cheat. I mean, it's everything. Cheat. It's kind of like it's a
cheat.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be real though. Even if All Stars if we weren't gonna allow that in there, I still think it's easily arguable for that to be the best.
The top 2, top 3.
Top 2, top 3 for sure.
Yeah,
gotcha. So, I'm actually looking at the rest of this list. I feel pretty comfortable where everything else is. What is there any injustice that anyone sees here?
I just think. This is from my personal play experience. I think you take Earthbound, you put it at 8, and you scoot everything up. And I think you're done. I know a lot of Earthbound fans are like,
got some people angry, dude.
F Nintendeal, I'm out.
Myself
included.
Like
unfollowing, like unsubbing, down arrow. But I think that you take Earthbound, you put it at 8. It's top 10 of all Snes games, Super Nintendo games, and you move everything up. So I think it would be
4's a lock for sure, though, right?
4 Chrono Trigger.
4's a lock. I like Chrono Trigger at 4.
5 Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
I don't think Earthbound should move.
I would.
Donkey Kong Country 2.
I think Donkey Kong Country 2 is better than Earthbound.
I agree.
Okay, that's fine.
But I wouldn't. I haven't played Earthbound to completion, so I don't.
I'm on the same boat as you.
I don't have a dog in this fight. I think all 4 of these are fine. But
you want to die on that hill? You want to argue for it? I'm willing to hear your.
Tell
it to me.
Thinking about it, I think Donkey Kong Country 2 is more accessible to a wider audience, and it's like Earthbound is so unique with the tongue-in-cheek humor, with the crazy storyline. I'm willing to admit defeat, but I'm not happy about it.
So are we doing Earthbound 8?
Yep.
And move everything up? And then I think it's the top 10 list. Like we beat every other publication in our top 10.
Did we decide on Donkey Kong Country 2 and Super Mario Kart? Because we didn't change anything there.
You're right.
I would be, if I'm being honest, I would be really comfortable with Mario Kart going up to 5.
5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree with that.
I know it's a harsh move.
It is a harsh
I'm just being honest.
Okay, wait. So here's how we can. Of the people that have played Super Mario RPG, would you rather play that or Mario Kart? And for me,
Super Mario
RPG is a better game.
It's
So
a
I think
better game, for sure.
it is. And I think, honestly, Brian, the fact that you love Final Fantasy 2 and 3 so much, you are in for a special treat for RPG, dude.
Yeah.
You're going to come back and you're going to try to put this in a top 3.
Is that on the Super Nintendo Classic?
Yeah, it is on the Classic.
Yeah,
It is on the Classic.
I didn't get one, but we'll see what happens on launch
Brian.
day.
Your birthday's Friday, so.
Your
it
birthday
does.
is launch day.
Yeah.
You tell them that at Best Buy.
Yeah, dude.
And we'll say
I don't think they're gonna do anything for me.
honestly, there's a lot of stock. I know this isn't about the top 10, but like a lot of Target stores got like 300. So I've been seeing numbers come in, and it's crazy.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
But I still think that Super Mario Kart's better than DKC2. I think you switch those and we lock it in and we call it quits, and Sarah can go to sleep because she has to work early tomorrow.
You know what? I'm fine with that.
All right, I'm fine with that. Are we good with that?
Swap 6 and 7.
No.
Brandon's been just losing all night, and I feel
I'm with
terrible
Brandon on this one. Like Super Mario
don't
Kart
really
is
feel
a good
terrible.
game, but it in itself was it in itself is not a better game than Donkey Kong Country 2. It led to really great games later down the road. It was basically a start for a genre. But I think Donkey Kong Country 2
have to
was a
do
better
that.
game.
Like on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time, they always put Sgt. Pepper by the Beatles up at the top.
exactly.
Like, not the best album of all time, but it's super influential.
Life changing, absolutely. And that's why I think it's borderline criminal that Super Mario Kart is not top 5. I just think it's got to be
tried.
there, like you said.
I
know,
but
I'm right with you.
It's about what we think is a better game, though, in terms of gameplay.
Lock in 5. Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, we lock in at 5. Earthbound, we lock in at 8. And I think we digitally arm wrestle for Super Mario Kart over DKC.
Wait, guys, we can Rochambeau.
If we're arguing about which is the most influential, like if we're arguing, if that's what determines a
All
great
right,
game,
Philip.
then it would be number one.
A piece of it.
Brandon,
You
get
have
ready.
to look at it holistically.
Brandon, this is rock, paper, scissors, you versus Andrew.
We gotta time this.
Also, if we're being real,
it's best 2 out of 3, Andrew.
Okay.
If we're talking about most influential games, then freaking Final Fantasy 3 would be on this list.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
It is. It is in the honorable
Brian,
mention
you can't
category.
talk until you play RPG. Go play Mario
All right.
RPG, and then
So
Is that? Did we establish whether that was on the Classic?
it is.
It is.
Okay.
Brandon, so here's how it's going to go. We're going to do rock, paper, scissors. And on scissors, because I hate the rock, paper, scissors, go junk. It's rock, paper,
Are you serious?
scissors. You do it on
Have
scissors.
you ever played rock, paper, scissors before?
It's
come to
always
West
on
Coast.
3. It's always faster to go
Thank
on
you.
3.
Thank you. Go.
Okay, all I'm saying
Ready?
is on my phone,
Right now.
Andrew and I are both the tiny little images in the top corner. So I can't see what he's really doing.
We'll keep him honest.
We'll keep him
So
honest.
put
We'll
your-
keep him honest for you.
Put your hand in front of there, and instead of saying rock, paper, scissors, just say 1, 2, 3. I think
And
it's a little
on
bit.
3 we go.
Yes, on
Yes.
3 you
And
go.
it's
Ready?
best 2 out of 3.
On 3.
Andrew, I'll let you count.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, again.
There's a little bit of a delay in there.
2, 3.
Okay, Andrew got 1.
Okay, so that's
Best 2 out of
best. That's
3.
okay. So one
Come
more
on,
time.
Brandon. Help a brother out.
1, 2, 3. That was 4. That was
No.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Okay, keep going.
I
Keep
did
going.
paper. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3. Ah!
Tied up.
All right, let's do this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, Brandon wins.
Oh,
That's baloney.
Brandon.
I
All
won.
right.
Thank you,
Did you have
Brandon.
scissors?
Yes.
All right, Chris, let's read off that list.
Finally, I win at
All right,
something
guys.
with this top 10 list.
Guys, we got to sign off, so let's read off this list. Number 1 is Super Mario World plus All Stars. I think we're all very happy to have that in the number 1 position. One of the most iconic games. 2, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. One of the best Zelda games, if not the best Zelda game, right up there with Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time. Super Metroid, number 3.
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger, probably the best JRPG of all time, at number 4. Followed up by the second best JRPG of all time, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. You will come back and be loving that game, Brian. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
Brian,
follow
you
up
need to
with
play that game. You need to.
Yeah, straight up.
That'll be I'll have to figure out some way to finagle one for my birthday on Friday.
All right, Donkey Kong Country 2 in the 6th spot. Super Mario Kart number 7, the forefather of a genre. Earthbound number 8, probably the biggest cult classic game on the entire SNES. Those
One of my
games
favorite games of all time. Oh, I love Earthbound.
Number 9, what probably Brandon and I would spend all of our quarters on from here to eternity, Turtles in Time. And then Star Fox, which is one of the premier games on the SNES Classic, just because Star Fox 2 will be coming out.
Yeah.
Which is so cool that they're doing that. So cool.
Yeah, it
Really
is.
cool.
I'm happy with that.
Runner-ups.
And
There
runner-ups.
are runners-ups. There's
Jungle
the sequel to Desert Strike.
you have
Strike.
to put that in the name. Like when we post this, you have to make sure that it's Jungle
Not
Strike,
Jungle
the
Strike.
sequel to Desert Strike.
And then you have to put the comments on Tetris Attack as well.
We'll put. Remember Jungle Strike? What about Desert Strike? No. Well, either way, they're both runner-ups. Okay, so runner-up 1 is Jungle Strike. We got Final Fantasy 2 and 3, which is 4 and 6, or I don't remember. how that all
It is
works out.
4 and 6.
4 and
Okay.
6.
We got Kirby Superstar, Mega Man X, Super Street Fighter Turbo, which is on the SNES Classic. Tetris Attack, which is Brian's Jungle Strike, the sequel to Brian's Desert Strike. Earthworm Jim 2, which has nothing to do with either of those games. F-Zero, which is also on the SNES Classic. And Secret of Mana, which is also on the SNES Classic.
Ooh, Randy.
Randy will be pleased.
Shout out to Randy.
And before,
Shout out to Randy indeed.
Before the viewing audience gets mad, it's understandable that some of this could be, flexed a little bit. We understand that, some people could argue that Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past could be number 1, things like that.
Yeah.
So this is
Sure.
just
Well,
our opinion. This is just.
But hey, I mean,
Disagree.
that's what we're doing this for, so people
Yeah.
can tell us what they think, and we
Exactly.
can get into debate on Twitter and just
No.
talk down on everybody's dreams. And
This is law, Philip. This is
That's
law.
right. This is canon now.
This is
This is
canon.
canon.
King Boo is Princess Peach's father.
No, mind blown.
Spoilers.
Oopsies.
Watch
So-
what's
Hey, well,
gonna
guys,
happen.
thank you, Sarah, Chris, Philip, Brandon, Brian. It was awesome. I'm glad we jumped on this call. Thank you, Chris, for heading it all up and keeping us on track, because I know we were drifting off a couple times, and we needed that. So I appreciate
Which tends to happen.
it. Yeah.
All
We
right,
should-
guys.
We should do more calls like this, but everybody enjoy your night, and we'll get
Cool.
it dialed in.
All right.
So-
Signing off.